Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hey, Patrick. Hey, Tim.
Hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
Going well.
Nice.
So Doc sent me from Postman to join and enjoy
Awesome.
and see what happens.
Nice. It's going well here too. I finally managed to join one of these. There's always like conflicts happening today and like on this day. So yeah, hopefully in future I'll be able to join more often.
Awesome.
Yeah, Thomas, I
So-
got to meet a lot of the Stellate people at a GraphiQL Summit.
Oh, nice. Yeah, sadly,
Where's Thomas? He's not here. I'm like,
yeah, I couldn't make it.
that's all right. We had fun without you. It was okay.
Yeah, it was fun.
I've heard that it was quite fun, yeah. Well, next time.
Yeah.
All right, let's give it a couple of minutes for anybody else to join. In the meantime, here's John. Hey, John.
Hey, everybody. How we doing?
Good.
Hello.
In the meantime, I've prepared a Google Sheet where we can take some notes. We actually don't have any agenda yet, which would be the first thing to come up with one. And also heads up, I sadly have to leave in half an hour because I have another meeting that I can't miss, sadly. Just so that you know if I'm dropping out. Maybe while we wait, we can already get to some agenda items. If you have brought any, I would like to quickly I would like to align on what our next bigger efforts around GraphiQL are. Just on a high level that we all know that we pull on the same string. Basically also kind of a preparation to finally go into our issues on the repository and to clean that up and create a roadmap that we all align on. All right, I would say let's get going then. See if anybody joins mid-call, but won't wait any longer. Maybe let's also, since I don't know everybody in this room, let's start with a quick intro so that we all get to know each other a bit better. I can also start. Hey, Doc's also coming. Let's give it a second. Hi, Doc.
Hello, everyone.
We were just about to get started. Quick round of intros so that we get to know each other in the room. I'm Thomas. working at Stellate, worked a lot on GraphiQL too, and yeah, maintaining GraphiQL mostly right now.
And doing the bulk of the effort around getting version 2 out in August, by the way. Great job.
And the giver of many talks.
Hasn't been that many, only 3, I guess. And I think that's enough.
Enough for me to recognize you on site.
Okay, I'll go. I'm John. I live in Austin, Texas. I'm a product developer. Currently not working, took a year off, looking to get back into work soon. But in the last 6 months or so, I've been spending a lot of time on like future graphical, primarily the new visual query builder. It's a real rat's nest of like design interaction problems. So most of the time has been spent there. If you've seen the prototype that I've been working on, there's also a lot of like Monaco bits that I've been trying to figure out. And it's nice to meet you, Tim and Doc. Welcome.
Have you ever considered working for Postman? We happen to be hiring.
We can take that offline. Sure, I'd love to talk to you about it, Doc.
Okay, John. Let's put a pin in that one.
Got it.
So I'll go. I'm Tim. I'm in Virginia, US, working at Postman on our labs team that's focused on GraphQL at the moment. So a lot of client-side work, integrating GraphiQL and seeing how I can help out here and give back, do all that stuff. Thanks, Doc, for connecting me to these fine folks.
So my name is Doc. I work for a group inside of Postman called Open Technologies, and we focus on open source development. We support 5 specs, Open API, Async API, GraphQL, JSON schema, and gRPC. And we support them financially as well as with engineering resources. My focus, I'm the the GraphQL lead in Open Technologies. And so I work on GraphQL, sort of different aspects of the ecosystem all day, every day. And I am so excited about the new active development in GraphiQL. So I'm here to see how I can help.
I guess it's me. I'm Patrick. I'm a developer advocate at Apollo, and I mostly maintain Strawberry GraphQL, which is a Python implementation of GraphQL server. And yeah, I'm interested in basically helping out with GraphiQL and also like, making, I guess one goal I have now is like making it easier for libraries to integrate and also customize them. For example, for Strawberry, we can have a custom theme, and for other libraries can have their own theme, these kind of things.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much. Again, feel free to add another bunch of agenda items if you have something that you would like to talk about. Given that there's nothing in there. Oh, by the way, I think I have to share the link again for folks joining later. I opened a Google Doc for note-taking. You can just chime in there. If there's nothing else, I would start with the one that I'm bringing, which is basically aligning on the efforts that will, like the bigger milestones that we want to hit for GraphiQL in the upcoming months. And I can start by sharing what's on my mind, and then I'm just hoping that we can have a discussion around this, and also very interested in your perspectives that you bring into this. The 2 bigger, sorry, please. Did anybody want to say something? Okay, I'll just continue. The 2 bigger topics that I see are on the one side, Monaco, which we didn't do with version 2, but postponed till later, which also John has been working, like your prototype has been using Monaco from the start. So that was like a very good way of already validating that its use, the Monaco GraphiQL part is actually usable.
Yeah.
So that would be one bigger item.
Sorry, I think that's sort of where, just to catch everybody up quickly, that's where the prototype in Monaco, that's sort of where it stops. Like it's usable, it's the right, we can do it, but there's still a load of stuff to figure out there. It's validated basically.
Yeah. Probably still an effort to get it into shape for actually being then feature complete and be usable in GraphiQL. But I think it's enough to get started and actually start the effort on this front. And the other thing I see is the also, which John pioneered in his prototype, the Visual Query Builder or Doc Explorer or OneGraph Explorer version 2, however you want to call it. I would say Visual Query Builder has been the best name that came to my ears so far.
Visual Operation Builder, maybe. To nitpick.
Yeah. So these are the two bigger topics that I see. Monaco would like to focus on Monaco for a bit. Monaco, I think, would be actually like if we get it into shape, it would probably be another major version for GraphiQL, because it brings, I think, also some changes around how you build and run GraphiQL. Monaco is at least recommended to run in web workers, which is something that in Corkmore is just not even possible. So there would be some breaking changes around GraphiQL coming with Monaco probably. The Visual Operation Builder, on the other hand, could be something that might be possible, or like we have the new plugin API now in version 2. So this is basically a starting point for trying to integrate something like this. But probably this plugin API would need to also get more powerful, because it was very, very simple for now, which was also intentional for version 2 to keep the scope a bit narrow. But we would probably need to expand on this front as well, which is currently, at least for me, still a set of unknowns. Maybe John has some more ideas around it, as you're working on this a lot more in the past.
I think you're right about the plugin API needing to be a little more fleshed out and solid, but we already have sort of agreed that that's a path forward for us, right? So that's not new information. I think it's interesting that Monaco and the Visual Operation Builder were left out of V2. I think that now. 3 months ago, I didn't think that. I thought, well, those are kind of like the big, other than like the new skin, these are the two big things, right? We all know that OneGraph Explorer, the take-up rate across graphical installations is probably in the majority. I think the majority of them are running Explorer, and so it was a big feature to get in. So, but now I think I know why, and it's because the decision to go to Monaco is not just a decision to switch to Monaco. It includes, I don't have edit access to the document, Thomas, so I couldn't make these notes in there.
Thanks for the call out.
But the decision isn't about, do we replace CodeMirror with Monaco anymore? I think that's the way that it used to be. It was going to be a replacement. Now there's thinking that we might have two modes, right? You could use CodeMirror if you want to, or you could use Monaco if you want to. And I think as a group, we need to make that decision before we do anything else, because if we're gonna go through the exercise of building out the Visual Operation Builder, we really need to target one of those editors, because it's, from what I can tell, I don't have a lot of code mirror experience, but from what I can tell, to do it correctly with the right experience is just a vastly different way of, you know, inserting edits into the editor. It's a lot different. The surface to connect the visual operation builder to the store for the editors, for the operation editor, would just, it seems to me like it would be radically different. So Code Mirror and Monaco, or just Code Mirror or just Monaco, like there's timing and scheduling that we need to figure out there. And then outside of the, like, what editor are we going with discussion, the visual operation builder, there's not a lot of, it's tricky technology wise, but it's way more complicated interaction wise. There's lots of prior art who's done it this way, who's done it that way. I've spent a lot of time the last week looking at Apollo Sandbox and how they're doing things. There's a right combination approach for graphical that represents spec compliance and is also familiar to the way that people are already using these jumble of tools. You know, one of the things I would like to see with graphical is just to bring back into the fold some of the users that have left for alternative tools. And I think nailing the visual operation builder is a real big one. So that's primarily a design exercise. Lots of tech, sure, but getting the interactions right, you know, is going to be the most important, especially in this setting where most of our conversations happen async, right? And people kind of come and go from discussions, whether it's Discord or from the GitHub discussions, people come and go, and we just don't have a program to validate all of the different micro interactions for the visual operation builder. And there are many that need to get figured out. So that's a rambling way of saying that I think we could execute the visual operation builder sooner rather than later. We need to figure out the design stuff. Like we need to find a way to manage the program to flesh that stuff out.
All right. Also, for Patrick, Talk, and Tim, what are your perspectives on these like two topics, or do you have maybe additional things that you think are important for graphical?
Well, I think the points that John was making, I think, are quite important, especially on the kind of plugins part. I think like graphical is gonna succeed. I think it's gonna be one of the best experience if we have plugins. I can see like a world where people have, even, you know, for your own company, having a plugin that works for you. Things like maybe just CodeGen, things like that. It would be amazing to have something like that. And I think we might, I don't know, I feel like there's gonna be some plugins that are gonna like reach out into the editor. And I think maybe we should kind of move on with that and decide what we want to do. It's either we kind of we choose Monaco and then we get like a plugin complete access to Monaco, or we create an abstraction on top of that so we can make it easier for people to switch from one to the other if needed. But I feel like that's going to be even more work.
I agree that running a dual setup there is that layer is not, I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to work on that. It's complicated.
I agree with Patrick about plugins. I have a strong bias toward plugins, and I think the importance. Once I saw Thomas like demonstrate, you know, what plugins might look like, that's just such a powerful model, and it's worked so well for VS Code. Also a Monaco editor. That I would really vote. I personally would vote to go Monaco only.
Yeah, we voted to do that several years ago. Yeah,
Hey,
in the
Ricky's
same
here.
working.
I didn't see you pop in. Hello, friend.
Hey, I'm glad people love the plugin API design. It was years in the making. We crafted it from user needs, and it's amazing to see it in place now. And it's just the beginning of what we'd imagined, but it's like so it's starting to fall into place. Yeah, and the code exporter plugin is almost done, and there's more coming. So I have another plugin that I'm about to introduce as well.
So that was a question that I had, is like, will plugins in graphical ever be like user selected, or will the implementer always be in charge of what plugins are available?
We discussed this a few years ago, and we decided that we would first make it so that you like set them up when in props, and ideally in a bundler at first, just because it made it easier to get it out the door and get it to like a 2.0 like we are now. But eventually for later major version iterations, we would love to explore those kinds of capabilities. We need to strike a balance, of course, and that's why we went the SDK route, because we need a simple editor for spec development, for more simpler uses, and then we also need a more in-depth capability for everyday usage and real-world applications as well. So it's this allows us to kind of explore different approaches there. I feel like plugins could be a great part. My original idea was that there would be graphical would be a component on its own, and then there would be a plugin management like wrapper component that would add all of this extra kind of like GraphQL playground type capabilities on top of that. There's a couple proposals.
I was just gonna bring that up right there. The after the merge of Playground and Graphical, which was, when was that? 2 years ago now.
3.
There was so right after that there was a lot of.
It was before the pandemic, when I was still paid to work on Graphical. Yeah.
Right. So right after that happened, I think there was a lot of enthusiasm and conversation around you could just Google for Playground dash preset and you'll find all this stuff there. The enthusiasm for having like a version of Graphical that sort of contained all of that extra, all those extra bits. So you could think of Graphical as having 2 modes, right? There's like the base mode, which is Scratchpad, right? Full spec compliant Scratchpad. And then there was another version that had a lot more surface exposed. And that's like the Playground reset. Again, like the naming, the things get confused with the naming, right? Because Playground has a lot of connotations to it. Like it needs to be something else, but something like a little more like drop in, ready to go, all the bits, likely, fully extensible and fully documented. So I think there's a lot of it's really interesting that we might have sort of 2 modes. Of course, it increases complexity, and we, it would be nice to have a lot more bodies here working on the stuff for sure.
Yeah, I think the SDK affords us a lot of flexibility here, even moving forward through major version iterations. So I think it's also possible that we could just have a mini GraphQL component that achieves this goal of like a more Scratchpad type editor experience. Like Sandpack, I think, is a great prior art, and that was in some of the original UX, or well, some UX sketches I made last year or this year, was just like a simple idea of like simple embeddable editors, and we can ship more types of simple components, I think, from the SDK as well, that are just like, hey, here's a great starting point for like a embedded docs editor, and it works when you embed multiple components in the same page, so you can scroll through, and depending on which one you're active over, it would become active with Monaco workers or whatever. So there's different options there. Yeah. And either way, but we have a great starting point towards all that. So. And
so John, I don't know how many people you were thinking of, like additional people showing up, but there are additional people. It's my understanding that there's some folks from the guild who couldn't be here today because they're in sprint planning, but they have stated their intention to start contributing to Graphical. They'll be watching this video.
Yeah, they're co-maintainers already, everyone in the guild. So, and they've already been contributing quite a bit. So, but they want to contribute more, they said.
They want, yeah, they want it. They're ready to, I think the phrase was re-engage with GraphiQL. So they want to put some effort into the project. Again, the other reason they're not here is because they had their own sprint planning scheduled at the same time. Otherwise, they would have been here.
That would be
Yeah,
great.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, they have full maintainer permission, so they're able to do that, and we'll be happy to review anything. They contributed the tabs right before we did 2x, for example. So
Right, to summarize, I hear that both the plugins is one thing that is like the most interesting part around GraphiQL right now. And I hear that we either need, like in combination with the efforts around Monaco, we either need to like now move to Monaco and allow plugins to only target that editor, or we need some kind of abstraction layer above editors that allow plugins to interact with the editors without being specifically targeting CodeMirror or Monaco. Because that would just make it not feasible writing plugins, maintaining two different editors. So that also sounds to me like investing more time into Monaco is the most sensible thing to focus on for the folks who have time and want to contribute in the coming months.
okay. Yeah, we have a CodeMirror 6 mode ready to publish. We just need to get one final approval on it. Samuel from
you're right. Yeah.
Altair. Yeah, so we have the CodeMirror 6 mode ready, fully rewritten. So we have one for both 5 and 6 now. But I think it still makes sense to move to Monaco for 3, and then maybe we decide how to introduce support in the SDK for CodeMirror 6 without necessarily having to introduce it to GraphiQL 3 or 4 for that matter, right? So we could say, well, if you want to use CodeMirror 6, you can use the SDK because the SDK supports it. Maybe we create a special SDK package just for CodeMirror 6, for example, and then people and some examples and give people a good starting point there if they want to use that. It might be better, for example, for accessible, lightweight documentation preview type user experiences would be great for, because Monaco is just always going to be a little bit bulkier, which is fine for more in-depth IDE type experiences. But I think, yeah, we can still have support, maybe not directly as like our first class reference implementation, but we can support the maintenance of a CodeMirror 6 SDK without it having to implement it necessarily for the flagship editor, so to speak. Yeah.
So when do you expect to release 3.0?
That's a very good question. I don't currently dare to give a time estimation here. I haven't worked with Monaco too much myself. I was really focusing on the design parts and getting V2 out of the door. So I can't estimate it. I don't know if somebody else dares to give an estimation around this.
It's hard to say. Like when I originally created the Monaco mode, I was getting paid full time to work on it. So unless that was the case, I can't give like very clear estimates because,
yeah, I've been working full time on this for about 6 months. And like I said, Ricky, I don't know if you caught this early bit where I was saying that the Monaco stuff that I've done up to now is just validating that like it works, like it does a thing, it's great. There's a ton of infrastructure around it that needs to get built, and that is more complicated when you try to build a plugin like the Visual Operation Builder, where you want to slice the updates into the editor. I don't know exactly how CodeMirror works, but I think it's different than the surgical updates to the values that are in the Monaco editors. And for the last 5 days, I have been in absolute hell trying to figure out how to make surgical Monaco editor updates work. It's not my forte, that kind of work. So 5 days not being able to figure out, a smarter engineer likely could have done it faster, but there is a load of work that needs to get done to figure out for something like the visual operation builder, where you're not just you're not building a brand new value and pushing it into the editor to display. There's a lot of work that needs to get done there. And I think it's going to be different between CodeMirror and Monaco. I think those are going to be radically different situations.
Yeah, definitely. And the entire APIs, the plugin APIs will be different. So it would be very difficult to have parity of any kind between them too, if we were trying to do that.
To go back to the question, Doc, of like providing an estimate, I think both Thomas and Ricky and myself are all agreed that it's a question mark until we can have folks that are, you know, focusing on what that necessary velocity is going to be, and then we can say like, here's a target date for when that's going to happen. But that's 3, right? Like we still have a whole lifetime of graphical 2.0 to possibly do some of this work that may not be breaking. I guess even those decisions are going to require people to get in and get their hands dirty and try to figure out some of the velocity.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just, the reason I was asking that is because this idea of pushing Monaco out to 3.0 just lays it on the table, right? You're just walking away from it. And I would like to see Monaco come about much sooner than 3.0. Like I would see,
but it would require major breaking.
I would like to
changes.
see active development of it.
But it would require major breaking changes. So it has to be a new major version. So, and we've been working on it for years. So, yeah.
Okay, but it sounds like then Monaco is the clear thing to focus on and to drive alignment, which isn't something that has to happen now in this meeting completely, but like the thing that
this
we
is
can
something
focus
we've
on
established
basic
in previous
and,
meetings. Yeah.
So the thing to focus on for us when we try to get the roadmap into shape, also to work out a clear path towards Monaco, and also to find people who are willing to contribute to that. And then start basically assigning the work and start more or less the exploration to get the unknowns out of the door.
Yeah, I think it's worth maybe reaching out also to the community, as you just mentioned, to see if there is someone that's, you know, has already worked with Monaco, so we can kind of simplify the work or get it
I
faster.
worked with the VS Code team to create Monaco GraphQL.
Well, so I mean, if we could maybe pick that,
I'm happy to help. Like if there's any issues, like I'm sorry, it's just.
I think I don't think anybody was. I don't think anybody was picking there. I think Patrick's maybe one thing that we've talked about previously is going to the larger GraphQL working group and saying like graphical has a plan. We just need bodies. Hey y'all, you know, are there people that you want to
I have like a set of people who have a lot of Monaco experience, who've worked on the VS Code team, who have contributed to Monaco GraphQL that we can talk to, who have shown interest and who have contributed and who would be happy to help. Just let me know. And like these are people that have already been involved, they've already contributed, and they're already using Monaco GraphQL at work, you know? So like they're already using it at Airbnb, they're using it at FireCamp. There's a bunch of companies using Monaco GraphQL, so those would be the best people to talk to. And most of them, the issues we're working on have to do with real-time SDL development, syncing schema changes in real time and things like that, because they're using them to edit schemas in real time, things like that.
Tim, do you want to say anything?
No, I'm happy to help on the Monaco front, but it sounds like Ricky's got some more helpful people.
Well, I mean, anyone who wants to help, like we need more people to learn about it as well. I'm just saying if we want people who want to become to develop expertise in this area, that would be awesome. But you'll have to be very patient because Monaco is not, it's not as well documented. And there's a lot of ways to like learn how to work with the Monaco APIs, but it's not, like it requires mentorship. And I would like to make sure that people have good mentorship in doing that. And I don't want to see people like starting over from scratch. And that's what I was worried about. Because I get this sometimes where people are like, hey, Ricky, do you know someone who knows how this Monaco thing works? And it's like, well, I created it. So, like, I kind of know how it works. You know, so I'm happy to help, but like, there's others who know quite a bit as well. But there's a lot of people who built a lot of knowledge just by themselves, and just the way I did, where they just taught themselves. And we can all teach ourselves more about the Monaco APIs and Monaco language modes, which are not like other Monaco plugins or integrations. They're very with the workers and everything like that. So, but I'm happy to help with that, and I'm very open to proposals for architectural changes. There's a lot of things I want to do. I want to use, you know, IndexedDB to sync schema between the workers and the main process, to make it more efficient and to make it so that you can cache schemas between browser tabs. Can you guys hear? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
There's background noise. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so that they can cache the schema state between tabs, which is basically because of this issue with real-time schema development, where as you're editing the schema, then it keeps creating the web workers. So there's a lot of improvements we can add to Monaco GraphQL that will make things easier and will address some of the issues upstream that people have been running into. There's multiple open bugs to fix with Monaco GraphQL. So whoever wants to work on that, let me know. And maybe if we're lucky, we can get some people from the VS Code team to give us some pointers on things, because they're very enthusiastic about this mode. But we won't need their help necessarily to accomplish anything either. And I think Christine Shaver is a great person to talk to. I, in fact, will probably make her, I was planning to make her a maintainer. And with her focus being on Monaco GraphQL and from the real world experience at Airbnb there. So her team's been working with it a lot, and she has a lot of ideas for how to improve it. So, but yeah, anyone who wants to specialize in that area, that would be awesome. Yeah. And I would love to help. And I also started over just looking at the Monaco API docs, like how does this work?
It's really bad. I want to make a special note about what you said about mentorship. I wrote it in the doc. I think learning Monaco on your own is it's not fun. It's not a pleasant thing to do. It really isn't. It's not. And so the idea of mentorship specifically, like in that vertical, that thing that we're doing, I think is great. If there was a way that we could flag certain people as, you know, already having the knowledge that could be direct sources, and we could, we could, publish that, we could socialize that a little bit, it would be very helpful.
I think it would be a good idea too to have people that, like, if they're, if you're available for mentorship, let's like tag you that way, or tag an issue that you're willing to mentor on, or give, like, if there's some general level of mentorship that you would prefer to do, how to communicate with you about that. Do you want email? Do you want to talk in Discord? How would I connect with you to get that mentorship? Can we talk to those people? And
that's a great question. And for example, for Monaco GraphQL, just ping me in the Monaco GraphQL channel on Discord, and I'm happy to start a conversation, help you track something down. But oftentimes it comes down to scheduling like some pairing or time, and I think it would be cool to turn that into a regularly like recorded thing that we could share with others async as well. So we
Like
could say,
office
hey,
hours.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually had originally announced Monaco GraphiQL office hours in like 2020, and just I don't know, some things happened that year. It was hard to keep to the schedule, but I think it'd be easier to keep to now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate that again, just based on my experience the last few months, the Monaco challenge is not about Monaco GraphQL. It's about Monaco itself. That's where the heavy lift is. I have plenty of thoughts and ideas and questions about Monaco GraphQL, like how to tokenize properly, lots of stuff. But the big effort is just like the API, just the difficulty around the API surface and the shit documentation, and the fact that they don't have discussions on their GitHub, which is just absolutely like, it's nightmarish that they haven't unlocked discussions, because it's all issues and it's just kind of chaos. So that's where the bulk of the lift is. Does anybody have any other so we're talking about the two big efforts for the near future, right? That's Monaco, that's the visual operation builder. Sort of underlying that is the criticality of a more foundational plugin experience that I don't know that we have. I don't know that we can separate that in a way that makes a lot of sense. I know that there have been conversations in the past where the plugin API is a separate conversation, right? How do you build it? There's a lot of like thought leaders in that space. There's a lot of prior art, but separating it from the verticals that we're currently working on, the features that we're currently working on, kind of puts it in a place that is separate. And I think it really should be foundational. And so in my opinion, it should go along with the features that we're building in, and that plugin API is not one and done. That's going to be constantly evolving. It's constantly going to be growing. We're hopefully not going to be modifying and changing it, but it is going to be added to. So I think like Thomas, at the beginning of this, his big issues were Monaco and the visual operation builder. I think there's an understanding about Monaco and its complexity and how we just, we need to throw bodies into it, which is great. Get people ramped up and able to contribute to the more frequent discussions that I hope we're going to have about it. Does anybody have anything else about Monaco? I'd love.
Yeah, and I was just maybe suggesting, do you think it might be worth doing a kind of meeting with you, Ricky, and other people that know Monaco from VS Code team to just see, what you've been worked on, what's the current state, and maybe try to find a path forward. Because it would be good to kind of share knowledge as well on that. Maybe have a document, like a recap document.
That's a great idea. In terms of Monaco in graphical, I want to reiterate again that the work that I've done is simple validation. Like I really haven't done. I'm just this week digging into like sort of more complicated, really truly working with the API. So I think that's a great idea. I would love to see. I don't know if the prototype I've been building is the right test bed, because it's kind of messy, it's kind of gross, it's fast and quick and not wonderful. But if anybody else wants to take a stab at taking graphical and putting Monaco into it, that's great. I've been not avoiding the current graphical code base, but I'm just focusing more on design stuff. That's just kind of what I've been doing. So we know that we need someone who's taken the current version of graphical and tried to put Monaco into it. I don't think that's happened yet. I don't think anyone has done that. That would be great. That's, I think, the right path. And then once that's done and we sort of figure out what pain points there are, what the switch would look like, then I think it'd be great to get other people involved, because right now I don't have enough I don't think I have enough to contribute to the Monaco discussion. I really don't. Like, I wish I did. I wish I had more to offer, but I really don't think that I do, because it's really just been like fundamentally getting it up and running. I should probably be better about socializing a lot of that work that I've been doing, but I haven't. So maybe that's the first thing that we do, is we get somebody else who just attempts to replace CodeMirror with Monaco in the current.
I'll be that somebody else. I'm happy to. Yeah, and I had actually attempted it and kind of like saw that it was not working and backed off. So I'll be that person. I'll help out.
That's great.
So I'll make
amazing.
a fork and just focus, like you said, on just the Monaco, because most of mine are similar, where it's like mixed in with some other experiment I'm running. So yeah, I think that would work well.
Is your experience so far with at Postman, are you all taking graphical and using that, or are you using the building blocks from the graphical React package to build whatever you guys are building?
Right now we're using the building blocks, but it's mostly all the same. Like, it's just with like a few components kind of in between. And we use Monaco primarily at Postman, so I'm encouraged to make the switch happen. So I'm happy
Sounds
to
like
help
you're
them.
primed, Tim.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're primed. All right, I'll make a note of that here. Patrick, does
Okay.
that help with the point that you made a little bit ago?
Oh yeah,
with getting-
definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I was just trying to figure out what would be the kind of next path forward for this as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, team starting an experiment would be amazing.
Yeah, I don't want to obligate anybody who's not here, but I'm going to throw this out as maybe it's a possibility. We do have a few engineers at Postman that probably have some solid Monaco knowledge. And so maybe we could have, hold an office hours for graphical and Monaco, and bring along some engineers for, answering questions and help, just helping other people here, like up their knowledge and capability on Monaco, if that's of interest. Again, I'm not obligating anybody because they're not here, but I am willing to pursue it if you guys think it would be useful.
Right. I want to, I see Ricky's back. I want to just quickly ask if, Ricky, did you hear what I was saying about how I don't think that there's been an attempt to, in the current version of graphical, replace CodeMirror with Monaco. Like, I don't think anyone has actually done that yet. Is that correct?
In graphical, no. I've created some React examples of Monaco graphical.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
That would be cool if someone did, though. I would not complain.
Well, we got Tim. Tim has.
Yeah, Tim's your man.
Yeah, I'll help. I'll see what I can do.
That would be awesome, and I would love to help you, Tim. Yeah, I think you'll get to make it maybe a little bit simpler. I think this is the thing. I think my theory is that the SDK built for purpose for Monaco will be slightly simpler and have slightly less state to manage. Hopefully.
And Tim, the one bit of Monaco knowledge that I feel pretty confident in so far is the theming of the editors. And I also know the root CSS file that's in graphical pretty well, and the custom CSS properties. If you run into any issues with theming, I'm a great resource. That's about the edge of my Monaco knowledge. But I'm happy to contribute that if you get stuck there.
Okay.
All right, so that sounds like maybe we can wrap Monaco for now. I have a load of discussion, load of thoughts on the visual query builder, the visual operation builder. As I told Thomas and the Stellate team a couple of weeks ago, I think it's primarily a design exercise. A bunch of nerds sitting around writing code aren't going to get that one done. It's really a design problem that we need to begin to pick apart and uncover. And I don't want to take up the next 5 hours barfing out my thoughts about the design for the visual operation builder. Does anybody have anything that we just want to make a note of and begin to tackle about the visual operation builder?
So I'll just say my one little bit was like following the cursor around. You asked in that channel if like how the users responded, and we had a little demo yesterday and the users didn't like it. So but yes, there's a lot that I can hopefully like pass back and forth on like our user testing as we kind of do things. So yeah.
Are you doing any competitive analysis in that research? The obvious comparison is Apollo Sandbox. They handle it brilliantly. They're a million engineers. They handle it wonderfully. That interaction is correct. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not a fan of the way that they page the views through the visual query builder. I much prefer the tree-like structure because, especially for something like graphical, where we're sort of targeting a range of users, right? Like a lot of people's first experience with GraphQL comes from graphical, and I think that tree structure indicates a really powerful message. I have thoughts on how deep that tree structure should go, but Apollo, outside of that like flippy view thing they do, where their visual operation builder view is sort of led by the depth of the query that you're trying to get built. Other than that, I think their interaction with Monaco is fucking brilliant. Like it's really smooth. It's great. And part of that is the moving the cursor, right, which is tracking active operations. It's tracking active fragment definitions. It's tracking all kinds of stuff. So I shouldn't have gone that deep. Are you looking at Apollo Sandbox as like as an example, as a competitive
Yeah,
in that?
I've looked at it once or twice. Yes, of course. They are super good at it. Yeah. And
So
I think our designer is pretty similar in that like in some ways I kind of like digging in just because it can show more of the description of things, the paging, like you called it for Apollo, but we're similar of wanting to show the graph. So we're trying to find the right balance there.
I think Ricky just posted about Apollo reaching out to standardize on Monaco GraphQL. Do you know who was it?
I can't remember who told me this. It's all blurs together, but there was at some point I remember someone at Apollo saying they were interested in maybe making Monaco GraphQL what they use in Apollo, so they could contribute towards something in Apollo Studio. So they could use something that's open source and contribute back towards the open source community there. And I don't know why or what, I can't remember exactly who it was. So if you're out there, whoever was from Apollo that reached out and and suggested that's awesome. And if it never happened, it was just a dream, then take it into consideration.
Yeah, I'll ask around because I work there now. So yeah, hopefully this person still works for us. Yeah.
Congrats. Awesome.
That would be great. There, the one thing I notice when I poke around Sandbox is they've tokened the editor correctly. So the default it doesn't know what a field is. It doesn't know what an argument is. They've done a really good job there. If just that bit comes back to us in the open source community, that would be a really, really big help. But I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other shit that they're doing inside of that big giant spaceship that we would also really, really love to have.
Yeah, I would personally love to see that happen. So I'll chat with someone there. See.
What team do you work on, Patrick?
I'm DevRel.
DevRel. Cool.
Yeah, I worry that the parser itself is part of the issue, and like our parsing strategy currently requires full strength parsing for certain things. So there's just like certain things we might not be able to do, but I think we can still do context tokens for autocomplete and popover at least. Yeah, I think we can do. So I think what you're suggesting, John, I think maybe it's down the road, but yeah, we could definitely adopt a token-based parser approach like Apollo does. Maybe they want to help us with it.
Let's see.
Yeah, we'll see. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know what strategy we have around the Explorer in general. So yeah, need to check. But to me, like, it's, if we can contribute like all the things we've done, I think it would be amazing. Don't see why not. It's not up to me.
But we won't hold you to it. Okay, so we're coming up on an hour. I think in terms of the Monaco and the visual operation builder, I think we've had a wonderful conversation, the most productive working group conversation in the last few months, because, well, we just haven't been having them every month. So it's great to see new people. It's Patrick. It's great to finally meet you. I've been following a lot of the conversation of Discord and on Discord and the GitHub discussion. Tim, Doc, awesome to meet you. Ricky, great to see you. Does anybody have, since we're coming up to an hour, does anybody have anything else that they want to bring up that I can note on the Google Docs of particular interest? I have one thing, Patrick. You were attempting to theme.
Yes.
We don't need to get into a whole theming discussion here, because I think we clearly need some radical improvement there. I would love to see. I'd love to see that theming surface change over time without it having to be like a big deal. Unfortunately, if it looks like it could be a minor breaking change at this point, right? Because of the way that the variables are used. Can you summarize your thoughts on your experience attempting to theme graphical version 2 and some of those pain points? I'd love to just make those notes.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, the main issue was basically that we have a lot of CSS variable, which is fine, but there's also a lot of colors that depend on other colors with like changing this. I think it's just maybe the opacity or something like that. So it's like colors depending on others. So if I want to change like a single color, it's very difficult to do in some places. And basically what I was trying to do, the Star Wars API with a Star Wars theme. But I wasn't able to do that because I wasn't able to match the colors exactly to my palette.
So I have some thoughts on that. So I'm going to talk and not take notes, as I can't do two things at once. I think it's important for us to set a boundary for themability with graphical. It could easily get out of hand and just unmanageable over time. I think changing the background color is obviously something that just should be simple, whether that's like, a prop called background color, or that's derived from some other sequence of events, is up for debate. I would suggest that the design needs to first of all, the complexity in the layered contrasts in that neutral scale. I've said this before. I'm gonna like put my foot down firmly now and say that it's not helping anything. The surface that exposed is very weird. If you go into, for those that are interested, if you go into the prototype that I've been working on, I'm exposing a much, it's not exposed yet, but it's a much simpler color surface from which to begin. There's 3 surface colors, there's 4 text colors, and then there's a range of colors that are primarily meant to be assigned directly to the type system in GraphQL that propagates throughout the entire system. So I think it's a much easier surface. It is going to restrict the full flexibility of, you know, just being able to like override one specific color somewhere. But I think in terms of themability, it offers a much more like attractive package. I don't know what the surface exactly looks like on the prop side, like on the input side, but I think I have specifically attempted to make effort in improving that possibility going forward. It's not applied at all in current graphical. It doesn't live there, but I think we can. I would expect that changes over time, and that theming part of it, because I don't know that there are a lot of people that are. So many people that use graphical are just happy that there's a dark mode, that they're not really like getting involved deeply with customization. The deepest customization that I've seen is GraphBase. GraphBase has like pretty radically redesigned, like not radical, but radical enough, has redesigned it. So clearly, like the existing surface works for a lot of folks. They seem to be very happy with it, but I would like to see that change over time. I'm not sure where on the priority list where it lies.
Yeah, I mean, what you just described, like changing some base colors, would be, I think it would be great. That's what I wanted to do basically at the end. I just wanted to change like some colors and nothing much. Like, and I don't know, we still have like the ability to, you know, customize CSS if you want to. So like we can have, you know, our public API is the colors, and then if someone wants to change everything else, they can. But it's, you know, there's no guarantees on breaking changes. Like you have to follow up with the
right. Okay.
One last thing, just with that proposal I put out there, just for food for thought for later. So the idea is to make fetcher optional, and then to make create graphical fetcher an internal detail of the graphical component. So if the user supplies a settings configuration, maybe like something like a graphical config type configuration, then the fetcher is automatically generated for them, and then we have in state this concept of like environments or projects or something like that, and you can choose which one to execute operations against, and obviously for the schema to validate against and whatnot. And then the idea is also to have like a plugin that would be like a network configuration management tab, where you can manage, say, like global configurations and per project or per environment, so to speak, configurations. And this is based on a lot of different conversations and feature requests over time. I'm going to go back and consolidate a list of all of them that it's referencing. And it doesn't have to all happen at once. I think the first part would happen, and then like the network tab could happen later. But the idea of making fetcher potentially optional and allowing the user to supply some kind of declarative configuration to generate a fetcher is like the kind of the first proposal to mold, I guess.
I think this is a great idea. Is this partially a reaction to the plethora of fetcher related issues that we get in the repository?
Partially, and though most of them are kind of solved, I think this would like, yeah, it would help a lot of things, but it also takes us down a road of complexity. I can see Tim saying, like,
I think there's something really beautiful about the simplicity of how Create Fetcher works right now, and that's that
Yeah.
you do have to understand it, but once you understand that you need to do a thing, you go to, and you can't get it done, you go to the repo, you file an issue, somebody fixes it within 24 hours, or you just didn't do something right. That's a pain in the ass because it's generating issues, but it's also a relatively simple fix. Without we've talked about this before, Ricky, but without like a sort of better documentation presentation for graphical writ large, adding complexity to the fetcher without a better documentation view overall is going to make the beauty and the simplicity of the current situation potentially.
I think it would still be very simple though. I don't see what would be more complex here.
So it would still require, like, you pass in an endpoint URL and you pass in like a preferred
some headers or something, yeah, and that's it.
Yeah,
and that would be that would be it. And then create graphical fetcher would be executed under the hood. So I don't understand what, because then we would
no, I get it. I understand. I needed to be talked through.
And so users often request this, and I've worked at several companies where we had a custom implementation that had like a drop down to switch between our different environments, right? So it's a very common use case, and it would make it so that like any GraphQL server could easily be full featured in that regard by just saying, okay, yeah, we have graphical, and you can configure it for whatever network tags you have. And it would also let us kind of be a reference implementation for the HTTP specs, because then we could give them the full options that are available in the HTTP spec as user settings.
That
could be
is
persistent.
Yeah. That's very powerful. That is a convincing argument. Yeah, that last bit about.
I think it would be like a declarative config object would be a better reference point than like this create graphical fetcher, which is like a good reference implementation if you know where to look and how to read it. It's a little bit obscure as it's evolved, especially with multi-part incremental delivery. It's hard for people to wrap their heads around and gain an understanding of the spec implementation from there. So, and people are using this as a point of, it's why we didn't pick one other existing client to do that, because it needed to be a reference implementation and kind of be unopinionated, and so that we didn't say we favored this client over another or whatever. But then, yeah, so that means we also have to maintain a full spec reference implementation. Just food for thought, though. I mean, yeah, I agree, though. Fetcher prop is magically, beautifully, powerfully easy to work with. But there's examples of where, like, a declarative config would be nice, for example. So, let's say you change a header value that you want for all your default operations, and endpoint doesn't change, and you don't need to refetch schema, because you know the endpoint is the same as before, only these other values change. So it gives us a little bit more flexibility as those values change.
Yeah,
but
I do that in the prototype.
Other complexity issues. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Yeah. Okay. So I didn't take any notes there because I was trying to listen and not
That's
write.
okay.
But I think
so yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to write, John, is I was trying to jump in for you. I also wanted to correct something on here, but I don't seem to be able to edit.
If you refresh, you should be able to, Doc.
Okay. Let's see. Nope.
Huh. That worked for me. Maybe, are you logged into Google?
Yes.
Huh. If you send me a note, I can make that change real quickly. Thomas owns actually, maybe I own the document now too.
Yeah, so either I misunderstood what Patrick said about plugins, or whoever took these notes did. So what I was agreeing with Patrick on, or I thought I was that going to Monaco as a single editor, and developing plugins based on Monaco as the editor was the position that I was trying to support,
Mhm.
not an abstraction over whatever editor.
So I think the note in the doc is not a statement of fact. It's just we're just recording what Patrick was saying about the situation, and I think maybe Thomas taking these notes. I think maybe I said that.
I did mention both. Like I was saying, it would be, quite a bit of work to have an abstraction. And so we should choose either option. So like, one allows to use both editors so people can switch, but the other one is less work for us. And I guess it's even more powerful because, like people can tap into Monaco if we give them the ability to do that. So I mean, I would prefer Monaco as well.
I finally got.
I think you got it.
I finally got the edit button working.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, so we'll let you fix that. We're over. Does anybody else have anything that they want to bring up that we can't handle over Discord? 3, 2, 1. Okay. Well, I want to say again that it's a real pleasure meeting Patrick, Tim, and Doc. A pleasure seeing you again, Ricky. Hope you're doing well over there in Germany. Let's shut it down for now. I'll see you all on Discord. I've spent a lot of the last few months working on this, and I'm enthused and excited that there's more folks at these meetings. I think it's great. I think we need to do a better effort to making sure that we're having this meeting every month. And everybody have a nice day.
Thanks, John.
You too.
Thanks, Ricky.
Yeah.
Great to meet you.
Great to meet you all.
Patrick?
Thank you all so much. I'm excited to have everyone on board. See you
Yeah,
all soon.
we'll try to bring some more people with us next time.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you so much.